Queens is the pinnacle of all that Dark Cloud tries to be. It's the warm atmosphere, the cozy music, the adventurous overtones, all wrapped together and served as one delicious sandwich. A town sandwich. At first glance, this area could be perceived as an ancient civilization, or a town lost to time, except for the clearly alive palm trees planted along the pathways. As the sun comes up, we start to see the sky and the clouds, which look horrible for some reason. I think they just did the skies a lot better in other places. Looking at the town from above reveals a few interesting visual design decisions. The blackness outside the edge of town is odd, and up until now, they've done a really good job of hiding the world's borders from us. Adding some sand at the edges running off of the screen would have been an easy improvement, but I suspect this is a result of time crunch. This was their first game, and at this stage, there was already tons of cutscenes and content. It's actually very impressive, even with all of the rough edges. I've had a good look about the town and I'm ready to explore further, so I go for a brisk jog over to the edge of town, where I think I saw an ocean. But it was so much more than just an ocean. It's a harbor, and it's really pretty. I approach a man who I assume is the sole survivor in Queens. He's very happy to know that other humans are still alive. I guess the opening events for this game did happen a while ago. Yeah, this guy's been out here, alone, for like a couple of weeks. The good news is that he's a trader, so we have already got a person to go to for supplies between dungeon runs. But that leads me to my next question. Where's the dungeon for this area? Are we going to be fighting crabs along the coast? Maybe there's a tropical forest nearby. He suggests we continue our conversation inside his home, which is nearby. This guy owns a home in a post-world annihilation event, and I'll be renting for the rest of my life. This is where the fantasy part of Dark Cloud comes from. Haha, that's a joke. Look how nice this shot is. I informed the trader of what has occurred over the past few weeks, and he's shaken that they brought that, and I quote, fat beast back to life. There was some venom in those words. The culture around body positivity was totally different in 2001. It's crazy how much things have changed. Anyways, moving on past my millennial moment, the trader is angered and suspects the people from the east to be the cause of this. In his words, those blasted Easterners. Blood-sucking scum of the earth. Holy shit, dude, this guy's kind of an asshole. Maybe I shouldn't have told him what was going on. I liked him more when I first met him. He asks what the moon orb looks like. He thinks it might be in the undersea treasury, which is a shipwreck apparently, but recently it's changed and is full of monsters. Sounds like our next dungeon is this shipwreck. He asks if I still want to go there and instantly shows me the way. I wasn't even given a prompt to respond with. We head back outside and he tells me more about this shipwreck. About 100 years ago, the queen, who reigned over Queens, passed away. The townsfolk sunk her favorite ship with her as a sign of respect. Later on, they would use her ship as a vault to store their high-value goods in. But how are we going to get down there, you ask? A submarine named Turtle. It is turtle-like in shape. And its sole function is to ferry one person at a time to and from the shipwreck. It has no controls, and it only does this one thing. Well, it's time to take the turtle down to the shipwreck and explore the new dungeon. I'm eager to experience something more unique. I've been through a cave and a forest. Anything outside the realm of basic RPG game dungeon is a welcome surprise. The visual effects for the submarine going underwater are a very nice touch. The shipwreck is gorgeous. Unfortunately, the fog hides a lot of the finer details they put into its design. I'd dread having to come up with the concept art for a shipwreck that is also a merchant town's shared vault. Like, how's that even supposed to look? The turtle reemerges from the depths, and at last I'm inside the shipwreck. It's time to explore. Let's take in this new environment for a moment. The wood on the floors and walls has water damage, and the windows that we can see have an ocean green tint to them, so we know that there isn't much separating us from the sea. The music captures the atmosphere perfectly. The bass sounds like large bubbles escaping a sinking ship. The instrument doing the backing track does this echo with each note, which emphasizes the depth and size of this place. The lead melody sounds anxious and hurt. I can almost feel a cold coming off the walls in this place. Even the subtle light of the lanterns feels snuffed out by the weight of all of this. There's hurt in the air, unresolved emotions, sunken hopes, and romance is lost to some great sadness. This all might sound dramatic to you, but a scene can create so much emotion. It's beautiful and sad and wonderful and everything else that is the human experience. But let's talk about Gunny the Clam. Gunny is one of my least favorite enemies. He blocks constantly, and I don't think he's ever even landed a hit on me. I just don't like him. But I do like this new dungeon. It feels so much more intense than the previous two felt. I feel more of a sense of purpose. I want to know why this place is like this. It doesn't just feel like a place in a video game. It feels like a story waiting for me to turn the pages and uncover its secrets. This is one of the saddest moments in Dark Cloud for me. The realization that this game could have been this good the entire time. I don't want to spend too long talking about what could have been, because art is the sum of its parts, and that is especially true for video games. Queens is so fantastic that it really makes up for a lot of the less exciting parts of the game. I've had so many comments and requests asking for me to hurry up and talk about Queens already, so I think this was a shared experience for most people who played this game. As I delved deeper into the sunken ship, I quickly began to miss the sunny city up above. It feels like you're going underwater and holding your breath until the atmosphere is just too oppressive and you need a break. So let's take a break. This video has been brought to you by... Just kidding, I don't have sponsors. I just want to make videos and talk about the things I love, like the sky and the water. I really like the music in Queens too. So adventurous and freeing. It's just a good vibe. I placed down the first home that I can, and so far I've only collected 2 people that can be assigned a home. These are both followers of King, who is some sort of criminal, and this massive house is his hideout. I doubt anyone would consider this building a hideout, but whatever. I talked to Stu, and he recognized me as being new around here. He informs me that his name is spelled S-T-U, not S-T-E-W. However, above his head, it says Stu in the spelling that he does not prefer. This is supposed to be funny. Next, I talked to Jake. He says he's with Mr. King, the Don of the town. Okay, so they are self-proclaimed criminals at this point. They just advertise this to new people that come to town. I head inside their hideout and take a look around. I'm stunned by the decor and excellent aesthetics. For what is essentially a bachelor pad, this isn't half bad. I'd be very impressed if I went to a boy's house and it looked like this. I was suddenly overwhelmed by the daunting task of rebuilding another town, so I returned to Norune to calm my nerves. It's so nice. Also, it's like distance blur. You can kind of see. I think it's blur. I don't know what it's supposed to be. I know, the ambience, the footsteps, like... You can go into every person's house and every house is decorated. Like, I don't know. I think it was my character's house. It is. It's your mommy. Hi, so I took a large break on this video, and since then, some stuff has changed, but especially my microphone setup has changed, and I just wanted to let you know, instead of just suddenly shifting it and not talking about it. Yep. The presence of my video game mother was what I needed most, and so I was restored and rejuvenated. The shipwreck couldn't take away the warmth I now felt in my heart. My catgirl companion leaped across impossibly dangerous gaps, and I ran away from the reasonably hostile wildlife. It was with this rat-like survival mentality that I bobbed and weaved my way between floors, only pursuing conflict when absolutely necessary. I was weary and worn, exhausted from the battles of the past. I wanted freedom from these content creator shackles. I wanted more story to unfold, and become my new motivation. But as I went deeper into the shipwreck, the more the reality of my situation set in. There's gonna be at least a few more lengthy floors to clear before I got another dopamine shot from the story. So I did what I do best. I fished. I fished and reflected on the dungeon's floors that I was now neglecting. Neglect seems like a strong word, but this game was a part of my childhood, and I never beat it. By not finishing these dungeons, I was failing the little Fern that once looked on in awe at the mysteriousness of this game. I was much older now, and in the process of learning about game development, I spoiled the magic for myself. This journaling and replaying of Dark Cloud was about rediscovering that magic. I wanted to feel the same excitement and intrigue that I felt about this game when I was a kid. I hadn't felt that way about a game in years. One of the greatest tools for reigniting that curiosity is storytelling. So let's take a short leap forward past some of the grinding and discover what else we can find in Queens. We return to King's hideout, the self-proclaimed criminal's home. King drives what might be one of the fanciest vehicles I've ever seen. Imagine trying to make a turn at an intersection with this thing. I enter his newly completed home and am treated to a cutscene. They immediately begin plotting on how to scam me out of compensation for rebuilding their home. King says, "You see, in this world, there are things so valuable that they're invaluable." Which is actually true, and it does apply to what is about to be given to me. What they offered up to me was a human life, which is priceless, of course. Not to mention that she's serving us a whole meal right now. How can I serve you, King? Darling, heart emoji. They knew what they were doing with this character. They clearly knew what they were doing with this character. The tone quickly shifts when she begins bullying each of the men in the room. This scene in terms of vibes feels a bit odd. Like, I've stumbled upon somebody's bedroom antics, and I'm now required to watch. I'm not sure how it works, but I've heard rumors of cognitive behavioral therapy in the bedroom. I don't know, I'm a virgin. The genie's real name is Ruby, but I thought it would be funnier to name her Toby, because it sounds like Ruby, but lame. King shouts her name into the room. It's more underwhelming than I could have ever hoped for. The name was a success. Outside, Toby and I have a heart-to-heart, and apparently rumors of my good deeds have spread so far as into the tiny genie lamp that she was residing in. And she's like, that's awesome. Yeeg. My yeeg was enough. She offers her helping hand in this battle against the dark genie, and then she throws herself over the railing and does a backflip. For a game released 105 days before 9/11, it's pretty anime. I hit the town running, first visiting a fish market which is not open, but I need some omega oils, so I sort that out. Oh look, Rudy's shop's open. They give me a fish that looks a little bit too alive, and a block of ice to preserve its corpse. I take a look at their wares, and I'll warn you now, if you're a fish, I'd steer clear of these waters. Rudy does not discriminate between different aquatic life forms. Everything's for sale. Which is good for me, because I love fishing, and fish are great bait. Next up is the jewelry store. Sad. Let's visit the sheriff's office instead. I'm sure they have words to say about the lawbreakers living next door. This place looks as underfunded as possible. The bookshelf is almost entirely empty, the walls are falling apart, the jail cell looks like they attached a large boulder to the building instead of building a jail cell. It's downright stinky in here. Sam, the junior cop, asks for me to put his patrol bicycle outside. I don't think you're gonna catch King in his limo with a child on a bicycle. I'm no expert at enforcing the law, so maybe I should wait until I speak to the sheriff himself, but I'm just imagining this child on a bicycle trying to keep up with 3 adult men in a limousine that have a lifetime of experience. I just don't understand why Sam's here. I don't understand his purpose. I returned to the jewelry store after completing its construction. Jack, the owner, seems a bit hostile towards me. Again, I like to bring up the aggression we keep seeing towards femboys like our protagonist, just shining a light on it. Toby, the genie, steps in, and suddenly Jack seems to enter a state of fear. The boss's wife? Who is the boss? Who is Toby married to? The answer may surprise you. Apparently she's married to King. Maybe my CBT intuition was correct. Again, I am unaware of what that means. Jack quickly finds a hammer to give to me, and for Miss Toby, a platinum ring. Being hot and good at CBT has its perks, I suppose. I might just look into it. The short man sells weapons and various powders. He also looks grumpy all the time, which, when you're his height, is very cute. Slowly, I am beginning to confront my feelings about short kings. I don't know what this means, but someone in chat gets it. We finally get to meet the sheriff, who looks like a muscular child with a mustache. He helps us along on our journey for the moon orb, suggesting that we give Joker a visit. He abuses his power by providing me a search warrant in case Joker doesn't cooperate. I hope this doesn't make me the bad guy. What, you have a warrant? Damn. I think this dialogue's really funny. He's naturally sort of PO'd at us after we forcibly entered his domicile, but he's eager to tell me what he knows once he hears I'm searching for the moon orb. It's apparently an extremely powerful orb that contains what he describes as fearful magic. It grants the user eternal life, but it takes away their most precious possession. Just another reason to stay single, am I right? He suggests that we be friends and informs me that all he does is sell these useless crystals. I'm gonna start speeding through things a bit here because there's a lot of filler content, just completing more of the town and watching unfulfilling cutscenes. That is, until we meet Phil. He tells us of a curse cast over this cathedral that dooms all couples married here to be separated. His grandfather told him this story. 100 years ago, this town was a kingdom ruled by a queen called Lysia. Lysia was only 18 when she ascended to the throne. The people all trusted her and revered her as a great ruler. This is to say nothing of her beauty, which words could not describe. Apparently. The radiance of her smile made all around her happy. Then, one day, she fell in love with a young man in town. The queen and a commoner, it was only after the town was asleep in the night that they could meet. The two hid their love from the world for a long time. Finally, they decided to have a wedding ceremony. Yes, in this very church, deep in the night when all were asleep. But on that night, the groom did not appear as was promised. Dressed in white, she continued to wait, believing he'd come. Night after night, she continued to wait, but her love never came. The loss of her one love was too much to bear, and one night she threw herself into the ocean. That's when the curse began. Since then, all the couples that married at this church eventually ended up leaving each other. Now, maybe I have girl brain, so to me this was actually kind of like sad and like, aw, you know? But interestingly, this is their first attempt at doing any sort of like romantic driven motivations for characters. It's just so much more common in RPGs, and this game completely avoided it until the halfway mark. The other interesting storytelling aspect in this is that the romance isn't actually a part of our story as the protagonist. It's about other characters in the world, and that's really unusual as storytelling because it's not a very good motivator. But let's see how it plays out. I asked the fortune teller, who is this man that the queen loved? Oh no, I don't like that look in her eyes. We get a vision of Rando's store. It couldn't be Rando. That was 100 years ago. What's going on? I quickly make my way to Rando's store to touch the glowy thing on his countertop. And we get another cutscene. What are you gonna do? Gonna put this paper in this music box, then lock it. This box is our promise to each other. You keep the music box, and I keep the key. It takes both of us to open this music box, and without us both, we can't read the message inside. What did you write? That's the secret. When we finally join this one forever, that's when we'll open this once again. And with that, we're given the music box key. This seems like foreshadowing for us meeting the queen. I scurry like a rat. As quickly as possible, I make my way to the turtle. I have been grinding and grinding. This is my reward. I need this. I quickly make my way across the dungeon floor until I find the music box. Then, I use a music box key. We get to see the note inside, and I'm gonna condense this down. Basically, the guy is like, if you're reading this, then that means that we've sorted out our differences, but I know that that would be difficult because I'm such a low status man and you're just such a cool, fantastic, wealthy queen. And then, we're in the cathedral. This is definitely one of the cooler looking fights in the game. Almost immediately, you can see the quality for this fight just way up there. The environment looks gorgeous, the character modeling looks gorgeous, the colors are very cohesive. I was immediately interested. You can see it on my face, I'm smiling. I'm so excited for this boss fight. The Ice Queen is not nearly as challenging as you might expect. The difficulty curve in this game is just kind of a plateau once you reach the giant monkey. I suffered some casualties, but I managed to clear this fight on my first attempt, which I can't say feels like too big of an accomplishment. The Ice Queen remains cold and bitter, until suddenly Rando enters the room. He was the man that never arrived. He chose to keep the moon orb and live eternally without her, but he quickly realized that in the end, he only really wanted her back. He regretted his decision, and used us to make his way back to her. He returns the moon orb to us, I think. He also shatters some other blue orb. It's a little confusing. But we see the two of them embracing each other in what is actually a very wholesome moment. I think it's kind of shitty that he chose eternal life over her in the first place, and I wouldn't take him back, but, you know, women, am I right? The sun sets on another adventure. It feels like the end of a book. I'd be lying if I said this scene didn't make me experience a little bit of emotion. It's the same silly writing that this game has been utilizing since the beginning, but it feels like they genuinely wanted to tell us a story rather than just gluing together a few bosses in a dungeon. I think this is why this area is the most remembered and most cherished part of the game. There's something just really different about it. You can really feel the love and care they put into it. This was the part of the game that I never managed to complete when I was a kid. I think she would have loved it if she had just stuck with it a little longer.